They say power is lost through weakness, but that's a lie. Power is lost through emotion. One outburst, one flash of pride, one careless reaction, and everything a man has carefully built, reputation, alliances, position, can crumble to ash in seconds. Because in that instant, he stops thinking. He starts feeling, and the man who feels can be steered. The world no longer needs iron chains to enslave you. It only needs to make you angry, to make you jealous, to make you care too much. That is how modern power operates, not through open domination, but through invisible manipulation. The strongest mind is never the loudest voice or the most passionate heart. It is the one that remains perfectly still while the rest of the room burns. Machiavelli saw this centuries before algorithms learned to weaponize outrage. He watched kings lose empires over petty insults. He watched generals collapse not from battlefield defeats, but from emotional wounds. He understood a truth most people still refuse to face. The one who controls your emotions controls you. Look around right now. Every headline is bait, every post is provocation, every argument is a carefully laid trap waiting for your reaction. And when you bite, when you respond in rage, in fear, in righteous indignation, you are not expressing power, you are performing your own obedience. That is the invisible leash of the modern age. Not censorship, not violence, emotion. So the real question is no longer who holds the throne. The real question is, who controls how you feel? Because once you master that, no ruler, no system, no insult, no algorithm can ever truly rule you again. And that is exactly what this video is about. I'm going to break down how Machiavelli understood emotional control better than almost anyone who came after him, how he used it to outthink enemies, command unshakable loyalty, and remain untouchable even in total chaos. You will learn how emotion becomes the sharpest weapon against you, how to instantly recognize when it's being used to manipulate you, how to forge the kind of iron composure that makes people fear your silence more than your anger. By the end of this video, you won't just see emotion differently, you will wield it differently. Let's begin. Somewhere along the line, weakness rebranded itself as authenticity. Men started confusing emotional honesty with emotional exposure, as if vomiting every feeling onto the table somehow made them profound, as if bleeding in public made them deep. Society rewarded it. Speak your truth, they preached. Be vulnerable, they insisted. But behind that modern gospel hides a much darker instruction. Be easy to read. Be easy to predict. Be easy to control. Emotion has become the new religion, and most men are kneeling at its altar without ever noticing the chains around their ankles. Scroll through your feed. Every headline is preaching one sermon. Every influencer is delivering the same gospel. Feel more, feel outrage, feel empathy, feel sadness, feel connection. The system doesn't want thinkers. It wants reactors, because a thinking man is dangerous, an emotional man is profitable, predictable, programmable. The modern world has perfected what the princes of the Renaissance already understood. Emotion is the easiest way to rule the masses. You don't need an army to control one man, you just need his outrage. You don't need bars, you just need his guilt. And if you can make him proud of his emotions, make him believe they define his identity, then he will never question the leash around his neck. Machiavelli saw this when he wrote about the power of appearances. He said men are moved more by how things seem than by how they are. In other words, they don't need facts, they need feelings. You don't have to convince them with reason. You only have to move them with emotion. The one who shapes what people feel controls what they believe. So look closely at the machine around you. You are not being informed. You are being emotionally conditioned. Every breaking news alert is bait. Every viral controversy is a hook. Every algorithm knows exactly which flavor of outrage to feed you next, because it's not designed to educate you, it's designed to own your attention, and the price of that attention is your focus, your composure, your power. Most men are willing pawns in this emotional economy. They mistake volatility for depth. They mistake sensitivity for strength. But all it really means is that they have traded sovereignty for sympathy. You were told emotion makes you human. The truth is it makes you predictable. And in a world engineered for manipulation, predictability is the first step toward defeat. Power does not come from expressing every emotion you feel. It comes from understanding every emotion that tries to control you and choosing silence instead. So if you want to rise above the noise, start here. Stop reacting. Stop performing. Stop mistaking feeling for thinking. The world worships emotion because emotional men are easy to enslave. You will not be one of them. Next, we dissect the machinery behind it all, the biology of control, and reveal why your own body is the first enemy you must conquer. Your greatest enemy is not outside you. It lives inside your skin. It's not the man who mocks you. It's not the system that pressures you. It's the ancient wiring in your brain that reacts before it thinks. Every emotion you feel, fear, anger, shame, desire, was forged in a world of predators, scarcity, and immediate survival. Back then, reacting fast kept you alive. Now, reacting fast gets you played. Your biology does not understand modern power games. It only understands survival. So when someone threatens your status, even with words, a look, a post, your body floods with the same chemicals it once used to flee lions. Cortisol, adrenaline, the fight or flight storm. Your jaw clenches, your pulse races, your vision narrows, and while your body prepares for war, your judgment evaporates. That is exactly what every skilled manipulator counts on. They don't need to overpower you. They only need to make you emotional, trigger the right chemical cocktail, and you will destroy yourself for them. You will say something reckless, reveal something personal, sign something you shouldn't, apologize when you were right. Every master manipulator knows this. Control the emotion, control the man. Machiavelli warned rulers about this exact vulnerability. He wrote, "A man who cannot master his nature will be mastered by it." He understood that the real battlefield is never outside. It is always internal. If your biology dictates your behavior, you are not a strategist. You are a puppet. Think about how emotion hijacks power. Fear makes you hesitate. Anger makes you impulsive. Love makes you blind. Guilt makes you obedient. Pride makes you careless. Every emotion is a string waiting for someone smarter to pull. That is why coldness is not cruelty. It is calibration. It is the art of inserting a single breath between impulse and action. It is the quiet, cool. Question, I feel this, but who benefits if I show it? That question alone separates the ruler from the ruled. Modern psychology only confirms what Machiavelli practiced intuitively. The mind has two systems, one fast, emotional, reactive, the animal, one slow, rational, calculating, the strategist. Most men live and die in the animal system, the ones who rise, the tacticians, the kings, the quiet dominators. They live in the second. They know emotion will always knock on the door. They simply never let it take the wheel. Here is the secret. Emotion is energy. Raw energy without direction becomes chaos. You cannot erase your instincts. You must refine them. Anger becomes discipline. Fear becomes alertness. Desire becomes drive. Every emotion has a higher form. The weak drown in their feelings. The strong distill them into strategy. Next time someone provokes you, disrespects you, tests you, remember this. That surge you feel is not power. It is a chemical trick. Your opponent doesn't need to strike you. He only needs to make you strike yourself. When you control your biology, you stop being human in the ordinary sense. You become something rarer. A man who can stand perfectly still while others tremble. A man who can think while everyone else reacts. A man no longer governed by nature, but by design. And that is where real dominance begins. Not by defeating others, but by silencing the chaos within. No tyrant ever needed chains when fear would do the work. No seducer ever needed be haughty when attention was enough. And no manipulator ever needed force when emotion was available. Because here is the brutal truth. The world does not control you with power. It controls you with emotion. Every great manipulator, from Renaissance courtiers to modern media engineers, understands one principle. People do not move because of logic. They move because of feeling, trigger the right emotion, and you can guide any man to any decision and make him believe it was his own idea. That is why every kingdom, every empire, every government, every corporation runs on emotional engineering. They don't sell products, they sell desire. They don't give truth, they give fear. They don't silence you. They make you outraged enough to silence yourself. It's the same playbook refined over centuries. Machiavelli hinted at it in The Prince. Men are moved more by fear of punishment than by hope of reward. Modern society perfected it. Every headline, every trend, every ideological war you see online is powered by the same primal triggers. Fear, envy, pride, belonging. Look at how the game is played. They use fear to make you obedient. They use outrage to keep you distracted. They use guilt to make you compliant. They use hope, the sweetest poison of all, to keep you coming back for more. Once emotion takes the wheel, logic shuts down. That is the exact moment they win. You think you're acting from conviction. You're just being steered. You think you're fighting for justice. You're feeding their algorithm. You think you're rebelling. Your rebellion was already predicted, modeled, and monetized. That is why the calm man terrifies manipulators. He gives them no entry point. They throw fear. He doesn't flinch. They offer temptation. He doesn't reach. They insult. He doesn't bite. And suddenly the game collapses. Silence is not passive in this world. It is resistance, because silence kills the manipulator's power source, your reaction. Look at politics, relationships, media, even friendships. The patterns are identical. Every manipulator studies the same target, your emotional trigger map. What makes you feel small? What makes you feel seen? What makes you angry enough to forget reason? And once they find it, they don't need to argue anymore. They just press the button. That is why detachment is not apathy. It is armor. It doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop bleeding every time someone pokes your ego. The manipulator's greatest fear is not exposure. It is indifference. Because when you no longer respond, you are no longer controlled. When you stop reacting, they lose access to your mind. You cannot out-talk a manipulator. You cannot out-feel him. He lives in that battlefield. But you can outweight him, outwatch him, out-silence him. Emotion is their language. Composure is your weapon. When you learn to speak less, pause longer, and act only with intention, the manipulators fade away, because their power depends on your participation. They will call you cold. They will call you distant. They will say you've changed. And they will be right, because the moment you stop reacting to their world, you begin building your own. Detachment isn't born. It is forged. It is not a switch you flip. It is a muscle you build through repetition, restraint, and silence. Most men try to be calm only when the storm hits. That's why they fail. The time to train detachment is not in chaos, it is in peace. You practice when no one is testing you, so that when they do, you do not flinch. Here is the truth most refuse to face. You cannot destroy emotion. You can only reprogram your response to it. Emotion itself is neutral. It is information, a signal from the body saying something matters. The mistake is believing that because something matters, you must react. Detachment breaks that link. It creates the sacred space between stimulus and response, and in that space, a man becomes dangerous. Machiavelli would call this the art of governance, because every man is his own kingdom, and the first rebellion to crush is the one inside yourself. He wrote that a ruler must learn how not to be good, meaning he must learn to act against his instincts when reason demands it. That is detachment, the ability to act not from feeling but from calculation. So, how do you train it? First, observation. Watch yourself like a scientist. When emotion rises, don't resist it, dissect it. When anger surges, what exactly am I protecting? When fear arrives, what story am I telling myself about loss? When pride burns, what weakness did it just expose? Every time you question an emotion, you weaken its grip. You pull it from the body into the mind, from impulse into awareness. Then comes restraint. Every emotion demands an outlet, a word, a gesture, an action. Deny it once, then again, you will feel the tension in your chest. That is the old self dying, the silence that follows, that is control being born. It is not easy. The modern man is addicted to expression. He tweets his rage, posts his sadness, texts his desire. He cannot sit still with a single unspoken feeling, but you will, because silence turns emotion into energy. and energy withheld becomes power. Next comes distance, not numbness but perspective. The Stoics called it the view from above. Imagine your anger as a storm, but seen from miles away. You see the lightning, you hear the thunder, but you are no longer in it. That is detachment. The mental shift from I am angry to I feel anger, from I am afraid to I notice fear. The first makes you a slave, the second makes you sovereign. Even science confirms it. Neuroscientists discovered that simply labeling an emotion, I feel anger, instead of I am angry, dramatically lowers activity in the amygdala, the brain's emotional center. Machiavelli didn't have brain scans, but he knew it intuitively. He understood that a trained mind can bend the body's chaos into order. And finally, practice silence. Every time you speak from emotion, you leak energy. Every time you act without clarity, you surrender position. So don't rush to reply. Don't rush to explain. Wait until your voice belongs to your mind again, not your nerves. That is how fearlessness is forged. Not by killing fear, but by mastering timing. Remember this: detachment is not coldness. It is warmth under control. It is the man who feels everything, but shows nothing until it serves his purpose. That is not apathy. That is precision. In a world screaming for reactions, the man who does not flinch becomes a god, because he is the only one still thinking. The world mistakes calm for weakness. They see the man who doesn't rush, who doesn't bark back, who doesn't take the bait, and they think he is passive. But calm is not the absence of emotion. It is the presence of power, because calm men are dangerous in ways the loud never understand. While everyone else reacts, they read. While others defend, they observe. While others burn energy explaining, apologizing, pleading to be understood. The calm man sits back and learns everything he needs to know about his opponents. Machiavelli wrote that a prince must never let others see his heart. The moment they know what you love, what you fear, what you need, they can rule you. That is why the calm man always wins. He gives nothing away. His silence becomes the blank page on which everyone else projects their assumptions, and in doing so they expose themselves. Calmness is control made visible. It doesn't shout, it doesn't flinch, it bends the room quietly. Think of a courtroom. The lawyer who argues the least but waits for the perfect question is the one who turns the jury. Think of a general in chaos. Smoke, fire, screams, yet his hands do not tremble. His soldiers look at him and suddenly feel steadier just by watching. That is leadership born from calm. Even in the street fights of life, business, love, confrontation, the calm man dictates the tempo. He moves slower than others expect, speaks less than others want, feels less than others assume. Every delay is a move, every silence is a mirror, and the more the world tries to read him, the more it reveals itself. Psychology calls this emotional asymmetry, the dynamic where one person's calmness destabilizes another's control. When you refuse to mirror someone's emotion, they lose rhythm. Anger unreturned becomes confusion. Mockery unanswered becomes insecurity. Manipulation ignored becomes weakness. That is the invisible war of composure, and most people lose it without ever realizing they were playing. This is why the seemingly emotionless man rises in every hierarchy. In business, the executive who never panics in crisis. In relationships, the one who never chases validation. In negotiation, the one who never reveals desperation. He wins not by out-talking or out-fighting, but by outlasting. There is a certain gravity to him, a sense that nothing external can move him. People respect it, even if they cannot explain why. It is not charisma. Charisma attracts, composure commands. But here is the paradox. The emotionless man still feels deeply. He just channels emotion differently. Fear becomes focus. Pain becomes fuel. Love becomes patience. He doesn't kill emotion. He refines it. When others chase drama, he chases silence. When others explode, he inhales. When others react, he calculates. He lives in the half-second between impulse and action, and that is where all real power hides. The calm man wins because he never plays the emotional game others expect. You cannot bait him. You cannot rush him. You cannot read him. He is operating on a different frequency, one that turns chaos into clarity, and while others are still trying to make him react, he has already chosen his move. In every interaction, one person sets the emotional tone, and it is almost always the calm one. That is the law. The most composed man in the room decides the rules of the encounter, and once you understand that, you stop trying to dominate others. You simply stop being dominated. So next time someone tries to provoke you, don't fight the urge to react. Observe it, smile slightly, say less, move slower, because the man who moves last moves best. That is the emotionless edge, the power to make others reveal themselves while you remain unreadable, the strength to act when emotion would have made you weak, the quiet confidence that makes the loudest room fall silent. Emotion isn't your enemy, it is raw data. The problem is most men never learn how to read it. They let it steer them, crash them, then blame the world for the wreckage. But emotion, when mastered, is the most precise navigation system a strategist can possess. Machiavelli never said to eliminate emotion. He said to govern it. He understood that the ruler who feels nothing becomes cruel, but the ruler who feels too much becomes weak. The art lies in the middle, to feel completely, but act selectively. This is where true power begins, not by erasing emotion, but by translating it. Take fear. Most men freeze in it. They imagine every catastrophe, and that imagination becomes their prison. But to a strategist, fear is reconnaissance. It reveals exactly where your weaknesses lie. It shows you what you value most. When you sit with fear without running, it turns into clarity. You see what must be fortified, what must be faced, what must be abandoned, or take anger. Uncontrolled, it is a wildfire that burns your credibility. But directed, it is propulsion. When you let it pass through discipline, anger becomes momentum. It becomes fuel for precision instead of chaos. That is what Napoleon meant when he said, "The greatest general is the one who can turn his passions into calculation." Even love, the emotion most men think makes them weak, can be weaponized through discipline, because love in its pure form is focus. It is devotion. It is the willingness to sacrifice distraction for something that matters. But when you attach it to validation or dependency, it devours you. So instead of asking, "Who do I love?" ask, "What am I willing to love even when no one sees it?" That is purpose. Love stripped of ego. Machiavelli's genius was never coldness, it was awareness. He did not reject emotion. He studied it like a map. He watched men fight, fall, and rise, all because they were slaves to feeling. He learned that if you can predict emotion, you can predict behavior. And if you can master emotion, yours and theirs, you can predict outcomes. That is what makes composure a form of psychological warfare. Most people broadcast their inner state. You see it in their tone, their eyes, their body language. A Machiavellian does not. He stays still long enough to let others reveal everything. Their anger, their envy, their fear. Then he uses it, not out of malice, but out of mastery. You can do the same, not to manipulate, but to lead. When someone yells, you don't yell back. You study. When someone flatters you, you don't bask. You question. When someone betrays you, you don't retaliate. You remember. That is emotional strategy. It is patience disguised as power. You begin to operate from a higher layer of perception, where emotion stops being reaction and becomes information flow. You do not suppress it. You translate it. You ask, what is this emotion trying to tell me? Is this fear showing me where I'm unprepared? Is this jealousy revealing what I secretly desire? Is this anger showing me where I've given away control? Each feeling becomes a cipher, a clue pointing toward truth. And once you understand that, emotion stops ruling you, it starts serving you. You will see why most people live predictable lives, because their feelings are predictable. Trigger them with fear, they hide. Feed them with pride, they chase. Insult them, they explode. Praise them, they obey. But when you master emotional translation, no one can puppeteer you again. You can walk through manipulation, chaos, and temptation untouched, because every feeling you have, every rise of heat, every pull of the gut, becomes another signal you have already learned to read. That is what Machiavelli meant when he said, "He who controls others may be powerful, but he who has mastered himself is mightier still." Emotion is not a trap once you stop confusing it with truth. It is a compass, but only in the hands of the man who knows how to read it. The world burns louder every year. Every headline screams for your reaction. Every platform monetizes your outrage. Every interaction tests your composure. Modern society rewards the impulsive, but history remembers the Stoic. To stay cold in a burning world is not apathy, it is mastery. It is the ability to remain unmoved while everyone else is enslaved by noise. And that is where true power lives, not in dominance, but in discipline. Machiavelli understood this before it was fashionable to speak of self-control. He wrote, during an age of blood, betrayal, and shifting loyalties, where one wrong emotion could cost you your head. A prince who reacted from anger would wage the wrong war. A prince who acted from guilt would trust the wrong. Ali. So he learned to feel everything and show nothing. That is the Stoic prince, the archetype of composure under fire. You see the same pattern repeated through time. Marcus Aurelius leading a collapsing empire, yet writing calmly in his journal, "If it is endurable, then endure it." Churchill during the bombings, cigar in hand. Fear is a reaction. Courage is a decision. Even today, the men who rise, CEOs, strategists, generals, are the ones who never lose the inner stillness, because when the world loses its mind, people follow the man who hasn't. So how do you build that stillness? You train for chaos. You put yourself in friction, not comfort. You expose yourself to pressure until it no longer shocks you. Silence becomes your weapon. Routine becomes your armor. Perspective becomes your fortress, because the man who doesn't need peace to stay calm carries peace with him everywhere. This is how you become untouchable in the modern age. The Stoic prince does not seek attention. He earns gravity. He doesn't rush to prove, argue, or convince. He moves like time, steady, patient, unstoppable, and when everyone else is reacting, he is still observing. The crowd will call him emotionless. But what they don't understand is that he feels more than anyone. He is just disciplined enough not to leak it. That is why his presence unsettles people. It exposes their instability. They mistake his silence for superiority, but it is actually focus. Every man can cultivate it. You start small. You sit still when you want to scroll. You breathe when you want to argue. You walk away when you want to prove your point. You say nothing when silence will speak louder. And one day, without realizing it, you stop reacting. The Stoic prince is not born. He is forged in boredom, frustration, and discipline. And in a world that rewards emotional exhibition, restraint becomes rebellion. That is why Stoicism today is not old philosophy. It is power strategy. Because when you can stay calm in a world built to provoke you, you win every invisible battle before it begins. You stop being controlled by outrage. You stop dancing to the rhythm of distraction. You become a fixed point in a chaotic universe, and the world rearranges itself around you. That is what Machiavelli meant when he said, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." He didn't mean terror. He meant control over yourself first, so that others cannot control you. And that is how you stay cold in a burning world, not by running from the fire, but by walking through it unburned. You live in an age where emotion is currency, outrage is profitable, distraction is engineered, and attention is the new battlefield. Every notification is a test of your self-control. Every opinion that provokes you is a small trap to make you react, to make you bleed focus. And that is why this philosophy is not ancient, it is urgent. Being calm, detached, and strategic is not some aesthetic choice. It is survival. If you can stay composed while the world loses itself in hysteria, you become rare, and rarity commands power. Start small, don't announce your every move, don't explain your every thought, observe more than you speak. When something provokes you, resist the reflex to respond. When something flatters you, resist the urge to believe it. In both moments, test yourself. Can I stay unmoved? Train your calm like a muscle. Let silence be your first language. Schedule time to vanish. No phone, no noise, no validation. And watch how your thoughts sharpen when they are not being drowned. The man who can think without an audience becomes unstoppable, because every move he makes is born from clarity, not reaction. This is not detachment from life. It is domination of it. The more you control your emotional state, the less anyone can control your direction. And that is fearlessness really is not the absence of fear, but the decision to remain unmoved by it. So walk quietly, watch closely, act deliberately, and when the world tries to shake you, smile. You've already learned how to stand still in fire, If this message found you at the right moment, remember, the ones who rise don't shout, they build in silence. Subscribe not for noise, but for strategy. And the next time life tests your calm, breathe once and move like a man who already knows the outcome.